As previously mentioned, there have been requests for a case including the cryptid known as Bigfoot. This is an unusual cryptid in which the incidents involving are often just sightings and something big in the woods. But there have been journals from long-term hikers and campers who have prolonged any type of encounters with these cryptids. There is also one autopsy for a Bigfoot. The mortician who conducted the autopsy was in distraught for months afterwards. He has recently returned to work. He has also requested any type of counseling until further notice. Case file: Bigfoot, civilian, number 011. A weathered-looking journal was found on a picnic table in a large national park. For obvious reasons, the exact location will not be included. Park rangers retrieved this journal, and after trying to find out the identity of the owner, the subsequent report made it to us, where we retrieved the journal and spoke with this park ranger. The park ranger agreed to not mention anything about this journal. The camper who wrote this journal had gone on a rediscovery adventure. They stated how they hadn't been connected to the outdoors for a period of 8 years and greatly missed the tranquility. Having gone on a sabbatical, they did the appropriate level of research for the area they were going to. They had also gotten all the equipment and replaced their own gear. They did some training to keep fit for these long hikes, spoke with the park rangers, and then left. The details were removed from the relevant database. The beginning of the journal is a descriptive journey, making maps at the beginning quite easy to understand. 2 weeks in is the first indication that there was something preternatural afoot. The sense of being watched and the occasional muffled snap of a branch being broken. This went on for about 6 days. The person did not indicate any trepidation regarding these events. A couple of days after the sense of being watched stopped, the camper detailed an encounter with 2 very gruff-looking men. They had almost a feral look in their eyes, and their presence was intensely unsettling. Their communication was rough, almost punctuated with growls. Their leering gaze made the camper very uncomfortable. As they took one step closer, they both stopped simultaneously. They looked around, like kids caught in the hand of a cookie jar. A gasp escaped their lips, and they bolted away. It wouldn't be until later that the camper would recognize the look and the behavior. It was that of a startled prey. The writing is in cursive and had been fluent throughout this entire journal so far. The night after the encounter, the camper noted that instead of feeling refreshed like they normally had since this excursion, they felt mentally exhausted. Carefully examining the noted cursive was not as flowing anymore. For the next week, the fluency of this cursive writing was deteriorating, and blocky lettering was being used in place of it. Repeated mentions of a recurring dream. The camper describes the inevitable urge of standing in the middle of a clearing next to a large silhouette of a humanoid. The dream would just consist of 2 of them standing there for hours on end. After the aforementioned week, the camper detailed this first proper encounter with a Bigfoot, or to be more precise, the Bigfoot from the dream. Exiting their tent to cook an evening meal, the camper noticed a presence immediately. The large humanoid, approximately 9 feet tall, stood half hidden behind a tree at the edge of a small clearing the camper was camping in. Instead of fear, the camper felt a sense of serenity. The camper nodded to the Bigfoot, then cooked their meal. The camper had trouble putting into words what had happened next because while he did engage in a form of communication, due to the nature of how this conversation took place, putting into words seemed difficult as 5 pages were filled with writing which was crossed out on multiple occasions. From what we could gain from any of this, the Bigfoot would telepathically impart the concept of something into the camper's mind. For this instance, it was the concept of cooking food. Not the description of it, but the actual concept itself. It seemed a little hazy, as if unsure. The camper tried to explain vocally about the process of cooking one's food, but the Bigfoot reinforced the idea, and instead of cooking, the focus was more on the process of the cooking. It took a while, but it seemed like that Bigfoot would be looking for an invitation to join a camper with an evening meal. The camper tried to form any type of image of the two of them sitting together to eat, which the Bigfoot took as an invitation, and it was meant to be. For around 10 days, this guest would be invited to join this evening meal, and they would sit and eat. The meat would have to be cooler for the Bigfoot to actually enjoy it properly. The writing was getting thicker, as if the handwriting the information down was heavier than normal, since the likelihood of the camper gaining such a significant amount of the mass to allow the event to occur. The mystery would remain unsolved until the end of the journal. After 10 days, the Bigfoot put forth the concept of community. The camper put forth the sense of city life while shaking his head. The Bigfoot frowned, then sent a concept again, but this time the focus was on the community in the forest with other Bigfoot. After a while, the camper agreed. The belongings were packed and the pair walked off into the woods. It wouldn't be until they got to the location the Bigfoot was leading him to that the camper noticed that, finally, he was able to stand eye to eye with a large, quiet friend. 3 more journal entries followed, but the language was very broken English, like trying to describe through concept in a few words as possible. The entry that the morticians found interesting was not the communal aspect of the Bigfoot culture, but when the two saw those men, the concept of wrongness imagined as a black fog with a large red cross surrounded those two, and then an image of the endless corridor of trees and hellish maze. Small food items like berries were used as the concept for small amounts of food near the bad men's feet with an early sunrise. It was agreed that the Bigfoot, due to the telepathic nature, could cause people to become lost in the forest through telepathic manipulation, and while not violent, did leave enough food for 2 bad men so they would not die due to starvation. Case file: Bigfoot autopsy number 01. The Bigfoot in question was found dead in a national park somewhere within the US, since the park ranger wanted to be vocal about this discovery. He was gaslit into alcoholism, which, given his family background, took little effort. The Bigfoot was 9.5 feet tall. His mass weighed in around about 380 pounds. There was very little fat. The mortician who conducted the autopsy noted that the hair was soft to the touch and the skin was tough to cut. Preliminary examination showed significant injuries to the torso and the arms. Scratch marks indicated a skinwalker due to the variety of necrotizing in the wound. What was startling was that there were antibodies for the infection, preventing any type of decomposition. The musculature was incredibly dense, as was the bone structure. The killing blow seemed to be when the claws of the skinwalker penetrated the heart. There were no adrenal glands within the Bigfoot, nor were there any reproductive organs. But judging by the above-mentioned journal, it seems that these cryptids can infect others, but only the ones they choose. I would state that the Bigfoot are a higher form of cryptid. While their communicative abilities are unique, they have shown the capability of communicating with others and their ability to show mercy when they could have easily killed those men, indicating the higher level of communicative awareness. Mothman. Research in popular culture indicates that this winged cryptid is an omen, mainly connected with ill fortune. Correlations between alleged Mothman sightings and disasters seem to indicate this. There are not many cases involving the Mothman in these archives, mainly due to the fact that this deals with the dead people directly, caused by cryptids or other unexplained events. Since the Mothman does not kill, this greatly reduces the amount of information that is able to be accrued. There are some journals of Mothman events scribed by those who have seen the cryptid. Case file, Mothman, number 004. Journal of a 15-year-old girl. Most of the contents are what you would normally find inside of a journal of a teenage girl who still kept up with this tradition. The entries of interest in regards to the Mothman are very few. The first entry describes a walk the girl took through a wooded area near her school. She notes how she is confident walking through the woods by herself due to her athleticism. She has also had several years of wilderness experience. The walk was supposed to be about 3 hours. Approximately 40 minutes into this walk, the girl spotted a dead deer with circular holes in the chest area. She looked around for any sign of a hunter, but this trail was known as a walking area, so the chances of a hunter risking the death of an innocent person would be extremely unlikely in her purview. She stood up and continued on her way, and she was bothered by the feeling that she could not describe, like a light buzzing in her mind that kept her very vigilant. After 10 minutes, the girl was brought to a halt when she saw a tall humanoid with wings glaring at her with red eyes. The sight of this monster caused the girl to bolt. The girl would make notes indicating that she was paranoid about this creature. 2 months later, she would detail her second encounter. This one was more terrifying as her paranoia had dwindled down slightly until it landed by her bedroom window. Its glowing red eyes would peer into her room, and seeing this tall monster gaze at her brought her paranoia back very quickly. She screamed at it to leave, and when her parents came to investigate, they could not see any sign of this monster she described. This is when things took an unusual turn. When the girl was able to control herself long enough to conduct her own investigation, she noticed some large gouges in the wall and on several trees. She took photos with her cell phone, and her writing became significantly more manic. She would claim to see it more and more. It began having a deteriorating effect on her sanity. Her parents pulled her from school due to repeated screams she would exhibit. Eventually, the girl would be placed into a mental institution. Her suicide occurred 5 years later. Secondary investigation. While some hallmarks of the encounter were similar to the other encounters, the secondary investigation brought to light some intriguing details. First of all, there were no records of deer carcasses found with holes in it along the way of this walking trail. The closest thing was a dead squirrel, which had a singular circular hole in its neck. This was quite decomposed when found, but nothing else found matched the injuries as described. Obviously, the false sightings while she was in public were noted down, but the photos were what drew the attention of the investigation. Out of the 5 working the case, only one of them could see the apparent damage, but by going what that investigator described and what was noted in the journal were almost as conflicting as they were corroborating. This investigator was a known conspiracy theorist who was very fastidious in his investigations while almost none of them bore fruit. The one leading to his current employment certainly did. This has led to speculation that the apparent correlation leading to the popular belief that Mothman is a harbinger of tragedy could be its ability to cause people to become obsessively paranoid and allow people to look for links that aren't actually there. The parallel theory is what it's called. 2 lines, one denoting tragedies, and the other for Mothman sightings. Some dates would mix, but given the population density, the fact that technology is not infallible, the human error is also a leading factor. It could be explained that it is 2 lines of events not overlaying, but happening to share the same dates some of the times. I am unsure of what to really make of this myself. While this sounds like it sort of debunks the Mothman, I think there is a little more to it than just that. Imagine being able to turn some of these more observant enemies into paranoid fools. That wouldn't be believed because the paranoid person no longer fully functions on the same social norm. Their actions would discredit them, and they would be the boy who cried wolf. While they do actually see the wolf, no one else can. It makes no sense to me. I'm not sure if it makes sense to any of you at all, but this is one possibility of interpretation. The Mothman is an aerial scout unit who is able to disguise itself in paranoid delusions. A scout for who or what is yet to be determined. The second interpretation is that it could be weeding out those vulnerable to the rake. As a cryptid, the rake is able to have a more psychological, draining effect on those who are unfortunate enough to encounter it, and the almost nihilistic viewpoints those people suffer could easily have been paranoid delusions instead. But this is just my interpretation of the cases I have seen and transcribed. Not everyone will agree with me, and that is perfectly fine. But I think there is a lot more to these cryptid entities and the unusual deaths that are not related to any of these logical chains of events. I am just not sure what that is yet. Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. This is the second installment of the Deep Web Archivist series, and I know you guys have been wanting to see this for a while, so I wanted to make sure to at least get a 20-minute section of it. Because altogether, if I'm going to be honest, it's about like 3 to 4 hours worth of a story. So I thought it would be easier to just kind of divvy it up a little bit. But a couple of little quick announcements. We actually just hit 2K on Friday night during the live stream. So for everybody that is still here and has gotten to this part in the video, make sure to listen to this next part. So we're going to be doing a giveaway, most likely this coming up weekend, probably Sunday night. We're going to drop all the details and everything, and just make sure that if you're interested in doing the giveaway, make sure to go over to my Instagram, shoot me a follow, and keep your eye on the Instagram stories, so then you know how to really kind of get into the actual giveaway. There's going to be 2 giveaways, so just remember that that is coming up this coming up weekend, hopefully. If anything changes, I will let you guys know. But if you're new to this, I apologize for all that rambling, and thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did like what you heard, make sure to like, comment, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Definitely turn on those post notifications, because we're probably going to start posting a little bit more frequently than we have been. Hopefully, if everything goes correctly. Gotta love schedules. But make sure to check out the links in the description as well. Twitter, Instagram, yada yada, you know what to do. Gmail is also in the description if you want to submit your own story. I'm going through some stories right now, but we will get there eventually, I promise. But with that being said, stay safe, stay scary, and I'll see you in the next one.